This is News at 8. From the Joy News Center. This is News at 8. From the Joy News Center. This is News at 8.
Good evening and welcome to the Primetime News Bulletin here on the Joy News channel. Tonight, President Mahama inaugurates special task force to oversee implementation of campaign promises, including building of 200 new senior high schools. 5 more ministers, deputy ministers, appear before Parliament's Appointments Committee for voting. Private hospitals are also coming under pressure as a result of the ongoing strike by doctors, except they have no complaints at all. We'll bring you the story of Jujo, an HIV/AIDS sufferer who is fighting against stigmatization. She says sometimes kills faster than the virus itself. In business, the Chamber of Commerce is warning consumers will in the long run have to bear the spiraling cost of doing business. All these plus sports, showbiz and international news coming up in the next hour.
News at 8 with Israel Lai.
Now, very first story, President John Mahama has assured work of the key ministers giving special portfolios in his government will in no way conflict with that of their sector ministers. Inaugurating the group referred to as the 3 wise men who will oversee the execution of his campaign promises, the president charged them to be cost-wise. 2 new members, meanwhile, have been added to what is now known as a task force for the president's priority projects.
There are doomsday prophets who have said the 3 wise men will be in conflict with ministers. I wish to assure them that there's not going to be any such conflict. Indeed, they're going to be assisting the ministers, and the ministers are going to be working collaboratively with them.
PV Obeng, one of the 2 added to the group, has been named convener with his other colleague, Dr. Stephen Ayidia, as coordinator at the Secretariat to help President Mahama deliver quickly on 3 of his key campaign promises in education, health and transportation.
I wish to declare inaugurated the Committee of Wise Men who will help me achieve the initiatives, the special initiatives that we have identified. And so I expect that the task force will follow laid down procedures and also will be as transparent and open as possible.
We've decided to have a sub-task force for education, which will include senior officials of the ministries responsible. For instance, the one for education will include the Minister for Education and his nominated technical personnel responsible for projects of that nature within the ministry. The same goes for transport and the same goes for health.
The other members are Member of Parliament for Nadowli West Alban Bagwin and Zebila MP Kletos Avoka. Member of Parliament for Ningo Prampram constituency was out of the country and could not be part of the inauguration. The president explained his option for a task force rather than what he called a bureaucracy.
It is not new to use task forces to achieve specific targets that a president wants to achieve without putting it through the normal bureaucracy of the civil service institutions. In my desire to push these initiatives as fast as possible and deliver in the period that we intend it to be delivered, I opted for this task force.
What he seeks to achieve, he added, is to deliver on all his party's manifesto promises, which won them power. The task force is to oversee the building of 200 senior high schools, hospitals, and upgrading of existing ones, as well as improving and building airports across the country. All promises he made during the December 2012 polls. Gifty Andopia, Joy News, Flagstaff House.
Meanwhile, former Health Minister and member of the President's Task Force, Alban Bagbin, has described criticisms that their mandate is a duplication of various sector ministries as mere political talk. He explains funding for the projects will come from both government and what he describes as other sources. Coordinator of the task force, Dr. Stephen Ayidia, also gives timelines for the execution of the projects.
Various governments have identified projects they believe are critical and urgent, and have done a similar thing by establishing task forces to implement them. And so I think what they were just saying, those criticisms were just political talk. As the former Minister for Health, I'm aware that we had already taken steps in many of these areas to secure funding. For example, for the regional hospitals, we have taken a lot of steps to secure funding for about 4 regional hospitals, and the Cabinet had approved some of them, and was left with a few others to be approved by Parliament. If you all listened, the President declared that we have to, in the case of education, put in about 50 community day senior high schools. That was put in the budget. If you look at in case of the hospitals, he stated regional hospitals too for this year. And then in case of aviation, there have been some provision, but not the capital one. And so that one will take some more time to look for the money. We'll be inviting a lot of private sector involvement, because, you know, that's quite a huge capital outlay. Definitely operational costs will be taken up by the Office of the President under the canopy of the Chief of Staff.
So it will take at least 6 to 9 months for any of those projects to go from the inception stage to the stage where we would have them breaking the ground to start constructing. But once that takes off, then the process is going to go much faster, because one contractor may be doing, one financier may be doing, 100 of the schools, and they will do it simultaneously.
Now, the second batch of 5 deputy ministerial nominees have gone before the Appointments Committee of Parliament. The 5 nominees were vetted for positions in 5 ministries, including Transport, Finance, Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, Local Government and Rural Development, and the Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology and Innovations.
Deputy Minister Designate for the Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, Ambassador Thomas Quartey, said he will work with the substantive minister to ensure the difficulties associated with the acquisition of passports are eliminated. He also spoke to the alleged poor services provided by staff in the various Ghanaian embassies.
The large majority of our officers are patriotic, they are conscientious, and in my experience, the Ghanaians who come, we, as much as possible, try to treat them with the utmost respect. We may not all together be too successful in all the instances, and there are obviously some bad nuts among us. I'm told that it needs only a bad egg to destroy a whole stew. So maybe the image that you get might be exaggerated.
Deputy Minister Designate for Local Government and Rural Development, Emmanuel Kwadwo Ajekum, assured the committee revenue mobilization is going to be a priority to help in the development of the various communities. He was followed by Dr. Bernice Adiku Helu, Deputy Minister Designate, Ministry of Environment, Science, Technology and Innovations, who called for effective monitoring of the use of the free laptops given out by government.
The provision of the laptops is not enough. We need to monitor their use, make sure that they put the laptops to very good use. And so the distribution of laptops under the Better Ghana agenda would continue as stated in the policy documents of the ministry. But what I will propose to my minister is to ensure that there is effective monitoring and evaluation of the use of the laptops.
Deputy Minister Designate for the Transport Ministry, Joyce Bawa Muktari, says she will partner the minister to reduce the carnage on the country's roads.
The National Road Safety Commission is mainly an advocacy organization. What they would require is additional powers of enforcement. I think that the police is doing its best under the circumstances, but I'm sure that if we're able to get a closer collaboration between the Motor Traffic Unit and the Ghana Police Service, we would be able to enforce the road regulations, enforce the penalties, as well as minimize the speed of accidents on our roads.
Ricket Kweku Hagen, Deputy Minister Designate for the Finance Ministry, was the last to be vetted. Another set of 5 nominees take their turn tomorrow.
Now, the Ghana Integrity Initiative, a local chapter of Transparency International, has called for an independent commission of inquiry to investigate the numerous allegations over projects of the Savannah Accelerated Development Authority, SADA, and to rule out any political interest. From a $15 million Guinea Fowl project to questions over unsatisfactory results of a 33 million Ghana cedis afforestation program, SADA has come under a lot of public scrutiny over how various sums of money were dispensed in projects funded by the authority and the roles played by an NGO called Azong Taba Cottage Industries, owned by Roland Agambre, CEO of RLG, a mobile manufacturing firm. In a statement issued in Accra, the Ghana Integrity Initiative, GII, among others, is seeking answers to whether the procurement processes were followed in selecting partners and contractors to carry out the SADA-sponsored projects, and what the main causes of the delays in the implementation of the SADA-sponsored projects. We're hoping to get to speak to Vitus Azim, the Executive Secretary of the Ghana Integrity Initiative, but unfortunately, he's unable to join us on the line right now. We'll try and see if we can bring him back on the line and get some answers to some of the issues they're asking or they're probing. But right now, we're taking a break. We'll be back with more news, so don't go away. Now, former Health Minister Albam Sumani Bagbing is suggesting that the Ministry of Health is maintained a while longer, a move he says is necessary to transform the health sector. Reminiscing his days as Health Minister, the Nadoli MP says the conditions under which health workers operate are nothing to write home about. His comments comes at a time of quite a few labour unrest in the sector.
We've not, as a country, been able to organize the health sector properly. When I took over there and had an overview, my directors and all the main players would tell you that I say our health sector is a jungle. Both the legal framework, the institutional arrangements.
Meanwhile, the police and military hospitals are having to take a lot of the pressure from the strike by doctors and pharmacists, largely because cost of care there is relatively cheap. There are, however, those who don't mind paying a bit more, especially considering the peculiar circumstances, to get care from more expensive health facilities. To owners of these facilities, the strike means good business.
Most of the private clinics we visited were unwilling to speak on camera. But it was clear patients since Monday have been trooping to private health facilities such as this one at Odoko for medical attention. Facilities here do not quite measure up to the first-class private clinics, but are fairly within the reach of patients who would otherwise attend the government hospitals. Mariansa is typical of many patients who would have sought care from a government facility.
And I get a health insurance and my buy my work at a craft. Yeah, best I say on Shane doctors now. I dear you, as I your mom, on your mom. Son, yeah, will be on health insurance. We got government hospital now and do bit me aqua. Price now for Macra. Private Nayana no boy, and say a slab and say, on your be found my.
Hospital Administrator Bafo Opoku admits they are seeing a lot more patients now.
Of course, there has been, increase, in the OPD cases especially, and also in ward cases, and in the emergencies as well. We are on the ground and we have put in, all the responses, and we have, enough medication, in store and all other, medical items. Our accident and emergency desk is, as usual, more than busy, obviously, and that I can say that we are confidently attending to the situation.
He added, even though business is good, pressure and congestion had built up since Monday. Some of the nurses confirmed this and shared their experiences.
The hospital has been hectic. Our schedules have been hectic. Patients come in and they put so much pressure on us, but it is our job, so we are really coping.
The situation was, however, different at the Kaneshie Polyclinic, which was unusually quiet. The OPD was virtually empty except for these few patients. The administrator, Francisca Kumaho, tells Joy News the doctors there are seeing to patients, except that most people are unaware.
Don't have much problem so far as the strike is concerned. Even with the gospel, I think we've supplied the pharmacy, has supplied the various departments with their needed drugs or emergency medicines. For now, we'll say attendance has dropped. It has really dropped. Kaneshie, as usual, by this time you see a lot of people out there. But you realize that the OPD is so quiet. They are just tripling in 111. So attendance has dropped, actually. And I think it's normal. Once they are hearing on radio that there's strike, I don't know, they are scared to come. Maybe they think they will not see the doctor. So why should we come?
The authorities are, however, calling on government to save the situation so all doctors can return to work.
We're returning to that earlier story about former Health Minister Alban Suman Bagbin suggesting that the Minister of Health be maintained a while longer. He didn't quite make his point, so we're bringing him back.
Various governments have identified projects they believe are critical and urgent, and have done a similar thing by establishing task forces to implement them. And so I think what they were just saying, those criticisms were just political talk. As the former Minister for Health, I'm aware that we had already taken steps in many of these areas to secure funding. For example, for the regional hospitals, we have taken a lot of steps to secure funding for about 4 regional hospitals, and the Cabinet had approved some of them, and was left with a few others to be approved by Parliament. If you all listened, the President declared that we have to, in the case of education, put in about 50 community day senior high schools. That was put in the budget. If you look at in case of the hospitals, he stated regional hospitals too.
Okay, I do apologize sincerely. There still seems to be quite a mix-up with that. Now, one of the most difficult things people who contract HIV/AIDS have to deal with is the stigma from society. This is when your immediate relatives will decide not to share the same plate and cutlery with you, or avoid using the bathroom immediately after you. Health experts, however, say most people behave this way out of ignorance about how the disease is contracted. The Planned Parenthood Association of Ghana, in a bid to deal with the misconceptions, is continuing to reach out to as many as possible with its campaign against stigmatization.
It will never be obvious who amongst the persons seated behind the table at this PPAG outreach event is suffering from HIV or AIDS, except for people who know Joyce Nate because of her public appearances to campaign about the disease. It was never a pleasant experience at the time, but Jijo, as she is popularly known, likes talking about the stigma she suffered, just so society would change its attitude.
The things people go through can even kill them. If I had died out of shock, is it the HIV that killed me or my fellow human being? My mother, apart from the bread she was selling, she had a small table. She was selling tea every evening. Normally when I visit and I'm hungry, she gives me tea and bread. But stigma, she's afraid to lose her customers. For me to come and sit down beside her, using the same cup she's been serving with people. Instead, she was pouring the tea. And I said, Mama, why? He said, I should take the tea away. For that one alone, I felt so bad. You can imagine what I felt. It's not easy to be stigmatized.
She contracted the disease from her fellow choir member in a church. A 47-year-old man, she says, deliberately passed it on to her. HIV is described as a silent killer because many victims, out of fear they will be ostracized, suffer in silence until they die. As an ambassador, Chijo says she is working hard to change attitudes, as she is doing right now at the University of Ghana campus.
Somebody will tell you, what if I put my hand in my mouth and then there is saliva and then I put it in the food? People have so many excuses to give. You don't get HIV through saliva. And also, HIV is not in the urine. That is why you can share the same toilet facility with somebody with HIV. Even if somebody deliberately puts their HIV blood in your food, when you eat it, it goes and comes out because you don't get HIV by eating. HIV is not in the sweat. That is why you can shake hands or hug somebody with HIV. You won't get it.
The stigma, meanwhile, discourages people from finding out about their status.
There is an advert on TV which says, be bold. And in fact, I'm not bold, so I can't do it. Because it might spoil my day. Although I'm not positive, but I don't know what the outcome will be, so I don't want to even know.
And this challenge PPAG is combating by encouraging people to know their status at such fora.
I just feel like I should come and test because I've not known my status for all that long, so I found it very necessary for me to find my status this time around. It was negative.
By God's grace, I've not had sex before, so I was sure that I was going to test negative. I tested again and I was still negative, and I was glad.
The expert explains, once you know your status, there are healthy lifestyles you can lead to ensure you live a normal life. Chijo is now happily married to another HIV sufferer and has 2 children who are not HIV positive. She says she looks this good because she keeps a healthy lifestyle by ensuring she always takes her medication.
So now, you know. As a la vie, most Ghanaians are still battling with access to basic necessities of life, including potable water. Etonam Say traveled to Azalavi, a small community in the Adan district in the eastern region, and report residents travel 12 miles on motorbikes to access the nearest hospital or clinic.
Azalavi is a community of 22 households along the Ada Road. Residents have never had water running through their taps, no toilet facility, and what is even worse, no hospital or pharmacy shop to manage health of residents. Residents claim they travel 12 miles to access the nearest hospital.
Ever since I'm born to this town, we have water problem. As well, this time now, we have to buy water every day. And they've tried so many boreholes, they are salt, but still they promise of coming to drill more, but they're not drilling it.
In the case of emergency, pregnant women, sometimes at the midnight, it just happens just like that. But with the help of motorbike riders, we carry pregnant women to hospital. Yeah. Because we are in the, you see, this just like we are in the open area. There are some villages down. Without motorbike, we can't do anything.
Pregnant women, on most occasions, are transported on motorbikes because of inadequate public transport.
We are also urging if there can be at least a clinic, because down here we have so many towns, they have to travel. That's why when people are in labor, if they don't have, formerly they don't have motorbike, they don't have car, a lot of people suffer. But now they have motorbike, they have to carry the people on the bike midnight, in the night like that going, and it's a whole lot.
71-year-old Gladys Ajoyi laments the situation is frustrating. Residents literally defecate around because of lack of toilet facility.
Next up, we bring you business news.
Joy News Business is brought to you in association with
Maximum, your world of maximum possibilities.
The Bank of Ghana is engaging shareholders of Merchant Bank before it considers approving its takeover by South Africa's second biggest finance group, FirstRand. Joy Business has learned that Central Bank wants to get some commitments from the shareholders over some debts on the bank's books, which has to be cleared by them instead of the new owner, FirstRand. Merchant Bank is currently owned by SNIT, SIC Insurance, and some staff of the bank. FirstRand recently secured approval from South Africa's Central Bank and Capital Market Regulator to take over Merchant Bank Ghana. Merchant Bank last year announced it had accepted an offer from FirstRand to acquire 75% stake in the institution for 176 million Ghana cedis. Board chairman of the Microfinance and Small Loan Center has denied any financial loss to the entity as a result of allegations against the chief executive. The CEO, Bertha Soga, has been asked to step aside to pave way for investigations into allegations of conflict of interest leveled against her. She's been accused of diverting Maslock funds into her husband's microfinance company. But the board chairman, Colonel Richard Kaku Kosa, tells Joy Business they are yet to establish the veracity of the claims. According to him, the board will in turn report to the appointing authority after the investigations, but insists the company's operations have not been unduly affected by the matter. President of the Chamber of Commerce, Seth Ejeba, has warned government would have to intervene swiftly about the spiraling cost of doing business, else consumers would suffer the consequences. Reiterating the concerns of its colleague chief executives at a luncheon organized by the Chamber yesterday, he said high interest rates, erratic supply of utilities and other challenges are running down businesses.
The government to understand us. Government, if it's business oriented and is looking up to the growth of the economy, the government should be able to understand the private sector, share with the private sector so that together we can move the economy forward.
How do you
Everything that happens in Lomé, Abidjan or anywhere affects us directly or indirectly. When people are taking 3.5% as interest rate and we are working around 38% or 28-30%, how do we compete effectively? When we come to the polls and we are clearing our goods, everything is charged in dollars and they convert at a rate every Monday. So government is doing that. If you go to the Ministry of Interior, Immigration, and you are paying or DIPC and they are asking you to pay certain charges, you are paying in dollars. Government should lead for us to follow. If government says that we are all using cities, we are using cities. So the customs there, they should tell us this is the rate and give us one rate to be able to change. But if every week we are changing rates, then what are we doing? We don't want to strike because we can't strike, but we are making business for our own wealth. One thing is that business people are not doing charity. If things are becoming very, very difficult, I can assure you they take advantage and do other things to make money, but it wouldn't help the nation. We want to together help the nation. If we decide to create artificial shortage, who is going to suffer? Is the final consumer. He is going to suffer. If I want to make 20% and you charge me anything is 20% I want, I can make it. And I can still create artificial shortages and make sure that I'll get the money because it's a demand and supply. So it's a matter of for us sitting down with government and saying let's together find the solutions.
House President of the Ghana Chamber of Commerce, Seth Ejeba. Now, over 40 small, medium and large vocational and technical units have been given a total grant of 15 million cedis from the Corporate Skills Development Fund. The grant is to facilitate their training and make them more productive and competitive.
The Council for Technical and Vocational Education and Training, COVET's grant, under the second call of the Skills Development Funds, saw about 428 SMEs, science, technology, educational and research institutions applying, with a grant value of 182.5 million cedis. Though 139 of the applicants passed, 56 received approval to source the 50 million cedis fund based on the innovation and productivity of their project proposals. For COTVET, the ability of grantees to maximize the support given them will help in sustaining the XDF projects.
After this signing, it is just the beginning of the work, because this is where the implementation is going to start. And that is where the sustainability of this program is actually going to impact upon. Because the results that we are going to get from whatever you are going to use the money that you are getting from this, from us, from government, is what is actually going to see how best government will continue to support this program, and how we can get other business partners to continue to support us, and how far we can actually continue to grow our businesses and then improve our economy.
Chief Director at the Ministry of Education, Enoch Kobna, deputizing for the minister, emphasized government's commitment to strengthen the productive capacities of vocational and technical units through the fund.
Apart from supporting the development of innovative technology for the growth of agriculture, the fund will also award small grants of up to 110,000 Ghana cedis to micro and small-scale industries and trade associations in the beauty and cosmetics, livestock, aquaculture, textiles, and consumer electronics sectors. Let me urge the project support unit of COVET to put in place a robust and efficient monitoring and evaluation system and framework to ensure that the activities of those who have received grants today and those who receive grants subsequently are closely monitored for optimum productivity and results.
Grantees were appreciative of the grant and pledged to use it to access training and technology to increase productivity. Meanwhile, vocational and technical groups can submit their grant proposals for the third call of the SDF within a period of 2 months, beginning April 15.
Next up, we bring you some smart investment tips.
All right, so we start with the Black Stars, and Ghana slipped 2 places to 22nd in the April edition of the FIFA Coca-Cola World Ranking released today. Despite the drop, Kwesi Appiah's team are still ranked the second best on the African continent, behind Ivory Coast and Mali in third position.
The Black Stars were previously ranked 20th, but have been leapfrogged by Denmark and Bosnia-Herzegovina. Aside the drop, Ghana also lost 9 points as they now have 874 points. Despite the drop, Kwesi Appiah's team are still ranked the second best side on the African continent, behind Ivory Coast with Mali in third position. The top 3 in the world rankings remained unchanged as champions. Spain clinged onto the number 1 spot ahead of Germany and Argentina. According to FIFA, a total of 128 international matches were taken into account for the April edition of the world ranking. Majority of them were qualification matches for the 2014 FIFA World Cup in Brazil. the AFC Challenge Cup and friendly matches played in the stipulated period.
From soccer to cricket, and the victorious under-19 cricket national team have presented the trophy and medals won at the just-ended Pepsi ICC African Under-19 Division 2 tournament held in South Africa to the Minister of Youth and Sports, Elvis Afriyankra. The team headed by the officials paid a courtesy call on the minister yesterday, and Joy Sports cameras were present.
The experience has been quite immense, playing with the big guns like the Tanzania. Yes, they are full of Indians and they play here because India, they play the game very well. It's their football. Yeah, so yeah, it was very tough. We have a country like Rwanda who also play very well. Yeah, it was very competitive, and because the under-19, like every youngster wants to use it as a stepping stone to break into the senior team. So it is way more competitive than the senior. Yeah.
What the coach taught us here, we remembered everything and we went according to what he said, the tactics and everything that he showed us here. We placed in 100% over here, and the end result over there, everything worked out. And we had the cups and the trophies home.
Did a lot of training, psyched the boys up. And basically, the longer form of the game, 50 overs, it takes a lot of concentration. You have to apply yourself longer and do the good things better all the time. And that was the message. They've been together since they were under 15. They actually won the Northwest Africa under 15, this core. So they've been around for a long time. So they've been playing together. We've been giving them the psychology of cricket. It's not very easy. So they are psyched, and I think that is the edge that they had. Because they were very well trained and very, very motivated. So the matches we played, we didn't have very much difficulty. It was a good match. It was a good competition.
I want to assure you that the ministry recognizes you, the government appreciates your effort, and you have all our support and our backing, and your name will be written in letters of gold.
Congratulations to the team, the under-19 cricket national team. That will be all for sports. My name is George Adejunior. Israel is definitely coming back with showbiz.